Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Undisputed Heavyweight Champion of the World show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Team, and this is Football and Nonsense. Thank you all for joining me. It is Thursday. It is the last episode of my birthday week. I want to thank all of you who have tuned in all week long to my guests so far, Craig the Leg, Aaron Coscarelli. It's been a lot of fun. And I didn't get the guest that I wanted to tonight. Schedules happen. It is that busiest time of the year, and I understand that. You know, Marcus had a last-minute scheduling conflict, but he said he'd make it up to me, and I trust him. He's a man of his word. I haven't heard back from Pat McAfee yet, so hopefully that's something that we can put on the horizon of either the December month or maybe even 2018. But, you know, it's a struggle. I feel like I've said it several times on the show, just how much a one-man show, which is what this literally is. I have a team of writers, and they're very good at what they do. I love giving them the opportunity to write all season long. Sometimes they miss deadlines. Sometimes they have other obligations, and I understand that, and I respect that because, you know, this is something that I'm trying to grow, obviously by myself, and some days are harder than others. So when it comes to, you know, you send out 100 emails and you get maybe 10 back, and of those 10 you get one yes and 9 other no's, it can be discouraging. But the point is that you have to keep grinding it out. You can't stop, you know, you can't get discouraged. And I know that what I have is a good product, and I know that what I do is as top quality as I can provide you with the experience that I have, which I'm going to get more and more experience with every episode that I do this, and of course more experience next year. Of course, some of the details of that you guys already know, but there will be more to come. So for right now, this is just me, a microphone, and a program that I bought with some equipment, or a program I downloaded with some equipment that I bought, and I try to do my best to keep lighthearted and talk the world of sports and everything else that's happening right now for an hour every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night. So once again, this is the fan show. Tomorrow's my birthday. I don't know how I'm going to spend it. 31, I don't know what that means. Anything? It's the 1-year anniversary of when I turned 30. That's how I'm going to spend it. But Connor Ferguson is going to join me at the bottom of the hour. And, you know, that'll be fun. He's one of my longtime friends. We met in the IFL, and looking to have him more involved with the show this next season. Got a lot of plans for the show this next season as far as the indoor game goes. IFL, CIF, NAL, and even AFL, which has had some change of scenery. So why don't we go ahead and do the formality that is headlines. The arena football team, the Cleveland Gladiators, have announced earlier this week that they are suspending operations for the next 2 seasons, a hiatus of sorts, usually not good for any team, any sport. The Browns did it, though. They were able to leave and then come back in 99. It hasn't really worked out the best for them, but hey, they're still there nonetheless. They balance out the NFL with 32 right there. It's, to me, they say that it's because of renovations being done in the place that they play, but it's not affecting the Cavaliers whatsoever. So there's a lot of rumblings, a lot of rumors about what the problem really is. Money always seems to be the root of all of it. Maybe Connor has some more insight on that. But the AFL was up to 6 with an expansion team in Albany. Of course, we heard Craig the Leg talk about that on Tuesday. They're back down to 5. Will they get a 6th? I don't know. It might be too short a time. In breaking news, the Indoor Football League has announced that their coaches' meetings are going to start taking place tomorrow. I don't know why. I'm on their emailing list, and I didn't get any sort of notification that these meetings were coming up or that they were scheduled. If I had known, I would probably do my best to try to make it to these. I feel it's very important. But either way, I'll have the coaches on just like last year. We'll do some meet and greets, some catch up, some get to know yous, and find out what all was said and done at the meeting. Always a pleasure to have the coaches on. They're very, very different personalities, but these guys have the for the most part, the best interest of their players and, of course, the fans at hand. So we'll see what comes from the meetings for the IFL. Not much has come out from the CIF or the NAL other than the announcement for the NAL's new expansion team, the Massachusetts Pirates. Head coach Amir Ismail, former defensive coordinator of the Spokane Empire and former head coach of the Bloomington Edge. Good friend of mine. He will be on the show and probably next month sometime to talk more about that. As far as the NFL, though, we've got, other than everybody still upset about the whole Eli Manning thing, which great article by Omar Cook up on thefanshow.com under the football tab. Go and check that out. The Eli era has come to an end in New York, and it's a great write-up by him. But I think everybody has sort of let this wound give itself time to heal. McAdoo sticking to his guns, I think, is one of the most ridiculous things ever. It's like, okay, I could see Belichick, Mike McCarthy, Pete Carroll. There's just so many other coaches out there that I could understand. Their decision is their decision. And sure, he might be making decisions to try to save his job, but for a guy to have a franchise that has now been built around a wide receiver in Odell Beckham Jr., to say that you've made the decision and you're sticking with it and people need to just basically get over their emotions and whatnot, I have to ask, like, who are you to say such a thing? I mean, really, his second year as a head coach in the NFL, they made the playoffs last year on a lucky run at the end of the season, and then the boat incident, right? But really, who are you? Ben McAdoo, who are you to say that, you know, you're a guy that this is your decision and that's final? Maybe this is something that we look back on and we'll be like, remember that time that McAdoo stuck to his guns and said, you know, I'm benching Eli and that's that, and we're going to go with Geno Smith. Remember how that changed everything, and he's one of the best coaches that we've ever seen in the NFL? I don't think, I mean, it could. I don't think it's going to be like that. I really don't. But, you know, it's something that we're upset with right now. Don't know what the future holds, but we just have to grin and bear it. New York Giants fans, I'm sorry for you. I really am. But it is still funny to me. We talked about it last night. Eli Manning, Hall of Famer or not, he's got 2 rings, and we're still discussing if he's worthy. And Phillip Rivers, though, doesn't have any rings. If he even had one, he's guaranteed a spot in Canton. At least that's my feelings on it. But it is whatever. And, you know, I think for a lot of people, this Geno, if it was anybody else but Geno Smith, they might feel a little bit better about it. But New York's pretty much tired of Geno Smith at this point. Oh, they really, really, really are. And, you know, that's, I don't know. It's a New York problem. Can't relate. Sorry. In other news, though, it is Thursday night, so we've got Thursday night football. Redskins against the division rival Dallas Cowboys. And talked earlier in the week about the Cowboys and how it is that Jason Garrett still has a job. Mike McCarthy's got such a better resume than him, and people were saying that he needed to be replacing Green Bay. Jason Garrett, what the hell? Jerry Jones, though, that's a large part of it. So this is in Dallas. Both teams have the same record at, I believe, 5-6. They need to pretty much run the table, as Aaron Rodgers would say, to go ahead and make the playoffs. But what concerns me the most is that it's a must-win for both teams, but in the reality of everything, it is a must-win more for the Redskins than Dallas, because the Redskins, they need to have something to show for this season. They've done so good, and then there's been times where you just kind of scratched your head. Dallas has kind of been one of those, you know, punching bags for teams as of late. The Chargers just mutilated them. Thanksgiving, you know, their game, the Cowboys game every year that they get at home on Thanksgiving, it was embarrassing. And you have the Redskins, though. They beat the Giants 20-10. It was a win, sure, but it should have been by way, way more than that instead of 10 points. Before that, they went toe-to-toe with the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans, and it took New Orleans an amazing comeback and then an overtime field goal just to win that. They also won in Seattle, but they lost to the Vikings at home by 8 points, one of the toughest NFC teams. But that win in Seattle, man, 17-14, I don't care if it's 3 points or one. It's something to be proud of. Now, these Redskins, though, they are very wishy-washy. They have played Dallas earlier. At home, they lost 33-19. So, if anything, they need to have a winning season, right? You can't just beat the Seahawks at home and go toe-to-toe with these great NFC teams and be recognized as one of those teams. If you lose to Dallas, even though it's in Dallas, it's more of a win for the Redskins than it is for the Cowboys, because I'm pretty sure that the Cowboys at this time have accepted their fate and said, without Zeke and without Sean Lee, we're pretty much just treading water, trying to figure out, where we can try to stop the bleeding. That's what this team has all the familiar symptoms of, is a team that's just trying to stop the bleeding. So once again, your reminder of the standings for the NFC, as I catch my breath here. 1 and 2 seeds, Philadelphia at 10-1. Obviously, the Redskins are not going to win the division unless there's a complete and utter collapse by Philadelphia. Philadelphia wins this weekend, they have sealed the division, and that's what I mean by complete and utter collapse. They have to win one game. Just one. And they clinch the division at week 13. How crazy is that? Minnesota 9-2, and then your 3, 4, 5, and 6 right now are LA, New Orleans, Carolina, and Atlanta. Outside looking in, Seattle 7-4, Detroit 6-5, Green Bay 5-6, Dallas 5-6, Washington 5-6. So they're 2 behind the next one up, as far as Seattle at 7-4, and who is only outside because they lost to the current 6th seed holder, which is the Atlanta Falcons, also at 7-4. So yeah, this is must win for the Washington Redskins. If you don't win this game, if you don't get back to 500, and if you don't win 10 of them, this has been a very tough NFC where it hasn't been just the teams with winning records like over in the AFC that are in the playoff picture right now. You've got a lot that are probably at the end of the season going to feel like they very much deserve to be in the playoff picture that are not. But we'll see. So that's Thursday Night Football. That's your game tonight. I picked the Redskins to win. Why not? Seemed like a great opportunity to the last time that they played each other. They, of course, had Ezekiel Elliott and Sean Lee, but they do not tonight. So Connor Ferguson is going to come on in a little bit to talk. More WWE stuff. I've been watching NXT, binge watching from the very beginning. Finally got to the point where they ended the Tough Enough gimmick, and they have now switched full gear into the NXT that we would come to know and love that we see every Wednesday. And man, it's such a night and day difference because they're no longer doing it. They're not traveling with the WWE, so you have it in this, live event, house show lighting down at Full Sail University, and the sound quality is very iffy, and the lighting, it works, but it's low production, high quality, and I can't get enough of it. Right now they're doing the Gold Rush tournament where there was 8 people that were in the single elimination match for who would be the first NXT champion. It's down to Seth Rollins and Jinder Mahal. What a throwback, Throwback Thursday. Jinder Mahal, the person that AJ Styles beat for his current title, was all the way back competing with the likes of Mike McGillicuddy, who would later become Curtis Axel, Bo Dallas, Richie Steamboat, the son of Ricky Steamboat, Justin Gabriel, and Seth Rollins. And here we are, Seth Rollins, Jinder Mahal. I can't help but think to see where Seth Rollins is now. And of course, I've still got a lot of NXT to watch. But how different any of their careers would have been had they been the first ever NXT champion. Night and day difference. Now, of course, Jinder didn't win, but he was one of the final 2, and they'll say that he got pushed for business reasons as far as tapping into the India market. But, it's crazy. Oh, and Drew McIntyre was one of them, too. It's 2012, and the throwback to this time period in WWE is definitely when the landscape began to change. I'm very excited to see it all the way through. I stopped watching WWE for a period of time, which I think is what a lot of you don't understand. When The Rock lost to John Cena, WrestleMania 29 in New York for the title, I was so pissed because I just felt like it was something that, one, they didn't need to have a second match. That once in a lifetime should have been once in a lifetime at the WrestleMania I was at. But yeah, why not do it again a year later for the title, give The Rock another title run? It is what it is. But there were so many other deserving guys, CM Punk being one of them, to be in that picture, in that place, and they weren't. And I just said, it's really going downhill. It was also the same year that The Undertaker would end his streak against Brock Lesnar. So I left a sour taste in my mouth. So I quit watching for 4 years. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, people start talking about NXT and how there's all these new young stars that are really taking. And then I start watching again, and Brock Lesnar's the champion. And Jinder Mahal. Oh, Goldberg. Crazy, right? So that's your WWE update. Suggestions for what I should do for my birthday tomorrow, go ahead and hit me up on Twitter at FanShowOfficial. And you can also like the page and message me on Facebook, facebook.com/FanShowOfficial. If you got my number, text me. But we've got a lot going on. I've got next week's shows to organize. Just because I have a birthday doesn't mean that it suddenly ends anything. The show must go on, and it will. Next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but got a lot to do. Lots and lots and lots. And with that, we'll go ahead and bring on Connor Ferguson. So don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. We've got more of the Fan Show coming up after this.
This is The Sheet.
Gets me all revved up. My face is now red. My ears are just freaking boiling.
He's so raw. That Sky hates him.
Yeah, he had 51 touchdowns. 4,900 total yards.
I know y'all like that, but I got to run. And only in Alabama that could happen, I have to say.
They're so good, man. They would win the Big Ten if they were in the Big Ten.
You could be doing something vision-based in front of you and reach down and grab a handful of insane goodness.
Give it to him. Kudos. I'm clapping like a golfer. Very good, Johnny. I'm proud of you.
Wow. You guys agree on something again? I'm very impressed. You ever had a bad week? Just you walk outside, step in a puddle, like right when you walk outside. I mean, how's there a puddle right outside the house? Or you stand on the curb and somebody drives by and splashes water up on you? Or it's just raining on you, not anyone else?
I will tell you, before you go any further, I cannot hear Chad when he speaks. Good.
Here, listen to the sheet, man. I don't really know what we're doing.
Every Saturday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. right here on WBLZ Sports.
Whether it be your industrial, commercial, or residential needs, Gen Service is the electrical contractor for you. The Gen Service team has the expertise, commitment, and educational years to help you solve all your electrical concerns. They have you in their best interest with helpful suggestions to accommodate your every want. Give them a call, no matter the size of the job, at 740-438-7173. Mention WBLZ Sports, and you'll get a discount. That's Gen Service, 740-438-7173.
This is Nick Ciccarelli, the mad scientist of sports. Join me and Dr. D, Derek Jones, live every Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific, for the Mad Scientist Sports Lab. The big intellect, the experiments on the chalkboard, and the guest subjects will be rolling in. Mad Scientist Sports Lab, only on WBLZ Sports, where we got balls.
Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing. He has over 30 years of painting experience. He's interior, exterior, commercial or residential. Doug Peffer covers it all. Is your house looking ugh? We'll call on Doug. Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing. 404-966-3361. Mention WBLZ Sports and get a special We've Got Balls discount. That's Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing. 404-966-3361.
Check out Thursday Night Tailgate, where NFL legends live on. We bring you 5 NFL legends every week, sharing their stories and insights, plus our spotlight on the positive. Hear which players are doing great things in their communities. Now on WBLZ Sports Talk Radio and WBLZSports.com.
We are back, and joining me from Team Fan Show and Last Word on Sports is Connor Ferguson, big Vikings fan. Welcome back, Connor. How you doing?
How's it going, guys? Can't complain, really.
Yeah, it's been quite a busy season, especially for you Vikings fans. And actually, I posed the question on the show earlier this week. I said, we know Philadelphia seems to be the real deal. Their record speaks for it as well as their play on the field. They're 10-1 with a chance to clinch their division with another win this week. But the last couple of weeks you've had where LA was averaging some of the highest points scored in the NFC. They get held to 7 by Minnesota. And then all of a sudden the Saints, who had a much better defense than they did last year and were on an 8-game winning streak, go and lose in the final minutes to LA the next week. In Minnesota, they've won, but it's been some very close games, like with the Redskins. And I just want to know, are they for real? And which of these teams is the most dangerous to you?
I think they're definitely for real. Most dangerous in the NFC is by far Philly. Carson Wentz has that offense rolling like none other over there, and I think they definitely have something brewing. But I think the Vikings, that's actually what I'm writing my article about right now. It's probably going to go live on the site tomorrow or the day after, that they showed they're for real with that one over Detroit. You know, they went 8-2, and I'm still sitting here and saying, are they for real? Because of the last 3 games they played against the Lions, they had it in the bag, and they choked out with them. So they almost choked out on Thanksgiving. They almost blew that lead and lost. So to see them close that game out and close the door in the NFC North, really, that was definitely pleasing, and I think it shows they're the real deal.
Do the Packers getting Aaron Rodgers back and knowing how they played against the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though they lost, does that concern you at all?
Not much, but just a tad, I would say. I think Minnesota has the schedule remaining in the season to at least clinch the NFC North, and if you're not going to get that second bye, you'll at least get a home game. So.
Yeah, the NFC is pretty stacked right now as far as its playoff picture, and there's several teams who right now with a winning record are on the outside looking in, and several of those teams are separated not even by a game, but by who won and who lost in those head-to-head matchups, Seattle and Atlanta being a perfect example of that. So Minnesota, to you, at 8-2, you are no longer wondering, if they're for real. You think that they are, even though it was too close for comfort against Detroit?
I think they're definitely for real. I think Detroit plays them close all the time. It's really weird. Those rivalry games can go either way, but I definitely think the Vikings are for real. And them winning close games just shows that they have the ability to finish them. So I think it's really looking up for the playoffs. Case Keenum's not, the household name. Adam Thielen isn't the first-round draft pick that was supposed to win us a Super Bowl, but I think the team they have on the field right now is playing to where they definitely could.
Does Minnesota have the best defense in the league right now?
I would say in the NFC for sure. I don't watch enough of the AFC to really go out on that limb, but I think they definitely have the defense that can win them, take them really far in the playoffs, and that's going to be looked at as the best defense in the league if it leads them to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough next couple of weeks. Of course, we'll talk about that a little later with our pick'em. But right now, we've got the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins tonight, and the first meeting between these two was very different. Of course, they had both Sean Lee and Ezekiel Elliott. Do you have a favorite in this one? I said earlier that I felt it was more of a must-win for the Redskins than the Cowboys, even though if either wants even a chance at making the playoffs, they both need to win tonight.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty big must-win for both. I mean, the Redskins could still salvage something if they lost. I think they have a better chance of that. But I think in the terms of, for them to give momentum, I don't think they could lose this week and then turn around and make the playoffs. But I think Dallas, if they were in the same situation, could. Obviously, if they lose and they go 2 games under, it's going to be really difficult. But I definitely take Washington tonight.
Yeah, and for me, Washington really needs to win this in order to show that they're a better team than what they appeared to be. They lost a close one against New Orleans and then Minnesota, but they also beat Seattle at home, which isn't easy to do. And so I feel like this is a team that is very much on the verge, but if you can't beat Dallas without Sean Lee or Ezekiel Elliott, you don't really have any business being in the playoff picture at all. So I'd say for them, pressure is probably a lot more on them because they're not missing key players like the Cowboys are. But yes, for both it is must win. I'm just going to say that it's probably a bit more of the pressure being on for Washington. Connor, you there?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought you were just making a statement. I thought we were going to go to the next thing.
Oh, sorry.
I'm agreeing with you completely.
I heard a click, and I was worried there for a minute. Okay, so
fine.
It was announced today that the IFL coaches meeting starts up tomorrow, and I wanted to know if you had heard anything about the details of that. First question that I saw in one of the comments was if Cedar Rapids even had a coach to attend these meetings. Any news out of Iowa?
Yeah, I've talked to, Billy's not going to let me know what's up straight to my face. I've talked to a few people. As far as I can tell, he's still the coach over there. I don't know what contract you sign or you can just get out of it like that.
Yeah.
The situation, obviously, Billy Back signs his contract with Cedar Rapids. They sign Charles McCollum. They sign a few players to their roster from Wichita Falls, and it's basically going to be Wichita Falls North and Cedar Rapids, if that's what it would turn into. But obviously rumors swirl in, as they always do, in that league. And it appears Billy might be going to the East Coast in the NAL. I have no clue what's going on with that. Obviously, we'll see what happens at this coaches meeting, see if anything comes out of it.
Yeah, and I'll be curious to see what comes out of it, too. The clock is ticking for this because, once the schedule gets released, it's sort of that reminder that, oh, yeah, the season is coming up. It just got real. We know when and where everyone is playing and what week. And so for them to have a coaches meeting and there are still to be question marks around certain coaching positions, I mean, you can only let this linger for so long before I feel like someone would need to step in and be like, okay, we need a decision, or this is going to be like this, or whatever. I don't know if that would be the case at a coach's meeting, but I feel like it might be something that gets brought up if it's still unclear at that point tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a huge question mark and something that, needs to be fixed as soon as possible. I wouldn't doubt, if that is the case, that Billy is not going to coach in Cedar Rapids, that Marvin McNutt, who he signed a 2-year when he signed to coach last year. So he still has 1 year on that contract to coach the Titans. But they promoted him, I think, to general manager of the team or something.
Yes.
So I would assume that he would take over the role of coach again and just, same coach as last year.
Well, I think the most surprising development over the offseason, aside from when it was announced that Billy Back was going to become the head coach of Cedar Rapids at that time anyway, and was going to pretty much bring his entire team from Wichita Falls to Cedar Rapids, was when Nebraska announced that it was getting former Empire and Shock head coach Adam Shackelford as an assistant coach. Was there any talk that you can recall of him getting a head coaching job anywhere? Because I feel like he would be one of the top 3 candidates in an off season like this last one.
Yeah, I feel like he just took the opportunity to stay in the league, and I think next year he'll find something else. For now, Nebraska is looking really scary. A lot of people don't get this, but when you have coaches in the arena leagues, and like Dixie Wooten came into Iowa, he recruited the team, completely changed it because he recruited guys to make plays. And it's all about who the coach is now, who they want to play for. You get 2 head coaches on the same team, you got an advantage.
So it's not like the NFL adage where if you have 2 quarterbacks, you really have no quarterbacks. If you have 2 head coaches, you have 4 head coaches.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What was the game that popped out to you the most on the schedule? And this will exclude the obvious, which is the United Bowl rematch between Arizona and Sioux Falls Week 1. Was there another one that you were intrigued to see?
Since the teams all play each other, not really. I'm intrigued to see Arizona at Wells Fargo Arena. They were a storied franchise in the AFL, and I remember watching a game there when Tyson Poots was playing receiver for him, led the league in receiving yards that year, just fantastic talent. And they haven't been there for 4 or 5 years now, so it'll be cool to see them come back into Wells Fargo.
Yeah, I think that'll definitely be a treat for the people at the Wells Fargo Arena to see that game happen. Now, the AFL announced that Cleveland is going on a 2-year suspension of operations while there's apparently renovations and remodeling being done to their arena, but the Cavaliers, obviously nothing is interfering with their season. Was there any word? I said that, of course, money always seems to be the root of any problem like this. Have you heard any more on the situation with the Cleveland Gladiators of the AFL?
Just that, it's the demand for the product in that arena. I don't know how they're going to renovate. I don't know how you take 2 years to renovate an arena. I've never seen that been done before. I'm not doubting that it's like a real project or whatever, but if the Cavs are still playing, I'm not sure why they can't fit 8 AFL games into that schedule, which, you're playing 41 home games in the NBA, but you can't fit 8 AFL games. So that's on them. It sucks. It's awful that you lose a solid franchise like that just to an arena. So.
Yeah, and they really were one of the more promising franchises in that league, and to see them now have to suspend operations, of course, we almost think of that as like the death strike from any sports. But as I mentioned, the Cleveland Browns, they did it. They left and they came back. It was kind of a different situation. But, never say never until the league is pretty much done and over with. But right now, AFL has broke even. They'll have the expansion team in Albany that Craig the Leg and I talked about Tuesday, which I think is good for their East Coast powers, but they're losing presence in the Midwest. Is there anything that you see at this point that could change between now and the kickoff for any of the seasons as far as a move for a team or the announcement of another team, or are we pretty much set at this point?
You're talking about any of the leagues?
Any of the leagues.
I'm guaranteeing that the NAL goes into the season with more than 5 teams. There's only 5. There's like 5 or 6 announced right now. I'd have to check their website here. But they came out with that press release when they announced Richmond was in like August or whatever. And it was like super promising for them. Here they announced 4 teams, and it's like these 4 teams will be playing next year, and they dropped the ball. And none of the 4 came through. So right now with adding Massachusetts, they got 6 teams. And Florida, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Mexico, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. So you kind of got a north and a south with 6 teams, and we have no clue whether you're going to start the season with 8, start the season with 6. The schedule hasn't even come out yet. I think there's another domino to fall, for sure, in the NAL.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk of a team in Orlando. Have you heard any more on that since the rumors a few months ago?
Nothing past that they were trying to make them be called the Orlando Predators again. I don't think the AFL really has they have the name rights, but I don't think the AFL was going to be too grabby with it. They weren't going to be too greedy and hold them from them. So Orlando was supposed to be a team, and again, they announced that they threw out a press release saying Orlando is now in the NAL, and then come today, it's not on their website. It was never on their website. Nothing's out. I really thought it was like one of the sloppiest things I've ever seen. I don't know how you write the press release without knowing that it's for real or not.
Well, that's the beauty of the minor league, world of sports.
Absolutely.
But hey, we roll with the punches. We do what we can, and we try to tread through all the negativity, which there's a lot of that. But I think it's going to be a good season for all parties involved. The IFL, CIF, NAL, but the AFL I think is the biggest question mark right now. They made it work with 5 teams last year, but they're losing a team and having another expansion team, and I don't think that you can do that more than just a couple of times and expect to be successful and consistent. So we'll have to see what happens with them. I don't foresee them adding any more teams in such a short amount of time, but hey, you never know.
No, they're the thing with the AFL is they're usually really, really professional when they add teams. You know, if they're adding a team, you know, there's this press conference is going to be tomorrow at 3, and we're going to announce a new team, and they're going to say that the day before. You know, and then that team inevitably is going to be added, and they're going to play. Unlike, you know, the situation I just talked about. So I don't think they'll add another team, but it's really difficult to sit here and think that 3 teams that are 2 years or younger, and then just the 2 teams left from the core AFL are keeping this league alive.
Okay. Well, we've got some pick'em to do here, like I do every week on the Fan Show, and we're going to pick the best 5 games of the week. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. Now, there's a few very good matchups as far as teams that, you know, they need to win in order to keep their seeding in the playoffs as is, or even have hope at getting to the playoffs. But then there's some matchups of teams that their season is all but over, and this just should be interesting to watch. So we'll go ahead and start with the first game here, which is your Minnesota Vikings against the Atlanta Falcons in that new Halo Dome that they have down there. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
You know, it's going to be a tough one. Kevin Coleman's been pretty decent this year, and obviously Matt Ryan for the Falcons is going to be one that they have to watch on the defense for. It's going to be one of the better quarterbacks they've faced this season, and it's obviously going to decide. It's another get check, are you for real game, I guess, but I think the Vikings are going to be coming in with a swagger that they're kind of in the driver's seat for the NFC North. I think they keep it rolling and just get another win.
Yeah, and obviously you're a homer on this when you like the Vikings. They've got one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the NFC anyway. But Matt Ryan has been playing very Matt Ryan-esque these last 5 games. They're on a hot streak. They're back home. They know that they need this win to keep that tiebreaker over Seattle. But excuse me. I'm going to have to, just for fun, nothing personal, I'm going to pick Atlanta because I think, you know, it makes things a little bit more interesting. The next one...
If there's any game out of those last 5 on the Vikings schedule that they're going to lose, it's going to be this game.
Oh, yeah, I could totally see that, which is why this one is tough. Now, we talked earlier in the month on the show about how the Rams had probably the toughest remaining schedule when it came to after their... big win against, who was it? I forget. But anyway, this was a few weeks ago. They had tough schedule. And this one was probably one that you wouldn't really pay much attention to. But at the same time, they seem to have found rejuvenation with a very unlikely play of Blaine Gabbert. So the LA Rams and the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona never count a division matchup out. Who do you like in this one?
I like the Rams. You know, you got to just roll with what's working right now. Jared Goff has something going with them. They beat the Saints, by the way, 26-20 last Sunday. We watched that game down in the basement of Ames. But I think Goff has hit a stride where Jeff Fisher's not the coach anymore. I have the same with Case Keenum. I don't know if you retweeted that one, but there's a tweet going around where Goff and Keenum are shaking hands, and they're just, the caption is like, "Oh, thank God, Jeff Fisher isn't our coach anymore." And it's helping both of them up. So I think I'll take the Rams in this one.
You know, and what's funny is, I'm going to take the Rams as well. I think Arizona, you know, they're good, sure, but they're nothing above 500, and I think the Rams definitely want to keep this momentum and that game lead that they have over Seattle going, and this will be a primetime opportunity. But sidebar, it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember last year, I said, you know, maybe Jeff Fisher just isn't a great head coach because he seems to be absolutely terrible with quarterbacks. This was before the 2017 Jared Goff LA Rams and before the 2017 Minnesota Vikings Case Keenum. I was using Sam Bradford, Nick Foles, all as examples of, it's just like, you know, they go somewhere and they light it up and they play so much better than they did under Jeff Fisher. And so now you see Jared Goff, who's playing at an MVP level, Case Keenum, who is the guy in Minnesota right now leading that offense, both quarterbacks who had Jeff Fisher at one point. And it's just like, man, he really must have been terrible with quarterbacks. Like, really?
Oh, yeah. I don't, you look at the people he coached when he was in with the Rams, and it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so I think Jeff Fisher would be a great defensive mind somewhere. Like, clearly, he could be somebody's Wade Phillips. I have no doubts about that. But I am sticking to my guns when I said that I believe Shanahan would have the better career than Sean McVay because McVay inherited a playoff caliber team. Now, this was, I think, week 2 or 3 that I said this because it was after that Thursday night game that the 49ers had against the Rams. And I got just murdered on social media being like, the Rams were a playoff team? Are you kidding me? And it's like, yeah, you're all quiet now because they're one of the best teams in the NFC. And it's like the same roster from last year minus Sammy Watkins. So, yeah.
Yeah, they don't like hot takes, man.
No. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick to that. But I do think Sean McVay is doing great things in LA, and I'm happy for him. The next game, this one is very, very important, especially after the outcome from last week for one of them. Carolina Panthers against the New Orleans Saints in the Big Easy. What do you think on this one?
That's a tough one to pick. Both teams are sneaky with 8-3 records, and just what I haven't seen it all coming this year. I thought both would be, especially after watching that Vikings Saints game week 1. Week 1 is the most problematic. It's the least, I guess, it's going to look the least like an NFL game of the season. It's not going to look like the teams are going to look in 16 weeks.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that the Saints would be 8-3. I think they're the least intimidating 8-3 team out there, next to the Carolina Panthers. And this one's just a toss-up. It's going to be a fun game. I think Alvin Kamara has just been one of the best running backs in the league this year. He should get Rookie of the Year for sure. And I'm probably going to take the Saints from that one just because of him.
Yeah, and I like the Saints, too, in this one. I think that they're the better squad. Carolina's schedule, as far as the teams that they've beat with winning records, has only really been the New England Patriots, and that was, some might consider a lucky win on an off day for Brady and company. So I think these are fake Panthers, like the fake Falcons were several years ago when they had that big run, and it was against all teams with losing records. Carolina, who knows? Who knows, though? When they get it clicking, and they're very dangerous, but I still like the Saints, especially at home, coming off of a tough loss to another big powerhouse in the NFC. So we both like the Saints there. Next one is the Philadelphia Eagles in Seattle. There's been a few teams to beat Seattle in Seattle. This team looks like it should be next in line, but the Seahawks are a wounded animal right now, lashing out at everything, and there's nothing hotter in the NFL than the Philadelphia Eagles. Could be a perfect storm for prime time. This is Sunday Night Football. Your thoughts?
Man, I don't know. This is like the most toss-up game of the week, and there's some good games this week. When you look at the schedule, look at who's playing who. Seahawks didn't start off well, like 1-2, and haven't been playing great the last few weeks, but they're obviously still in the playoff race at 7-4. And I'm looking at this game right now, and I still don't know who to pick. I think I'll roll with Seattle, just because I've been picking away teams, and I don't like that. So I'll take Seattle and Russell Wilson at home. I could just be dead wrong too. Everyone's been saying that the Eagles' run has to stop at some point, and maybe this week's the week, and it was last week or the week before that. And maybe this week's the week, I guess. I'll be one of those guys, so I'll take Seattle.
Yeah, if the streak ends, I could see it being this week just because Seattle is Seattle. But, I really would have liked to have seen this matchup with a 100% Seattle defense with Sherman and Chancellor being out there. For those reasons alone, I'm going to have to give the nod to the Philadelphia Eagles. Their streak may end, but, it's more than likely this weekend with those circumstances, but this is not the same Seattle team that once intimidated the rest of the NFC or NFL when it came to going to CenturyLink Field. So we're different on that one, and that's fine. Should still be a fantastic game. The last one that we'll pick, like I said, not all of them are for any sort of playoff implications, but some are just going to be fun to watch. So this one is my own personal favorite here. We've got the San Francisco 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo against the Mitchell Trubisky-led Chicago Bears in what I have called all year long the Last Laugh Bowl, because it was the work, the magic of Mr. John Lynch to maneuver this, to make it happen for the Bears. And then, 12 weeks later, San Francisco has what could be their future in quarterback for next to nothing. So your thoughts on this?
Well, I want to hear your thoughts on Garoppolo before I give my prediction.
Well, so my thoughts on Garoppolo are that there is a lot of pressure on him that I don't think people realize. Every other Brady backup has gone on to bust, and I mean bust hard. Matt Castle got so many chances with different teams, it didn't work out. Jacoby Brissett is being serviceable at best for the Indianapolis Colts, but he is clearly not their future. And, Brian Hoyer, he's been there before. He obviously only had success in Cleveland, which how crazy is that? But Garoppolo, is he different? Is he actually the guy that New England is going to wish took over for Brady once he finally decides to call it quits? So I loved what I saw out of him last week. I mean, his first career touchdown as a 49er against the Seahawks, hell yes. It's something that I feel is a sign of good things to come, but maybe it's something that means that it's going to be terrible, miserable. Nonetheless, I'm excited. I have reason to cheer for the first time ever. It's the game for my birthday weekend, so obviously I will be there and be excited watching this from home in a game that is very winnable for us. So there's my thoughts on Garoppolo.
He's definitely one of the most winnable games the 49ers are going to play for the rest of the year, if not the most winnable. I think I got a friend back in Ames. His name's Liam. There might have been a little liquid motivation behind it, but we were sitting in my room the other night, and he's looking at his phone. He just goes, "Connor, the Bears are not that bad. We're losing close. They're not that bad. They're pretty good for 3-8." And so, for that reason, I'm going to take the Bears in this one. Tariq Cohen, I love watching him play. I think Trubisky's kind of coming into his stride here. And, just because they got thumped last week, 31-3, I think they're going to be hungry for a victory. I'm not saying that it's not going to be a close one. I think it's a decently compelling game for a 1-10 team to 3-8, just with who's playing in it.
I think it'll be one of the sleeper games of the weekend. I don't think it'll be a very low-scoring game. I think both these teams are going to come out, thinking this is our best chance to win another game this season, so why not? And you've got both young quarterbacks on display. Should be a good one. It's not going to be prime time or anything, but I'll watch it as if it were. So that's our picks for this week. And of course, it's been a great birthday weekend, and I appreciate you, one of my longtime friends in this business. Thank you being on the show tonight, Connor. And I will talk to you soon. And of course, I plan on seeing you at who knows how many stops on the tour this year. But
for sure.
You take care of yourself, and you have a good rest of your night.
You too. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And once again, that was Connor Ferguson of Last Word on Sports and, of course, Team Fan Show. And that's going to do it for this Thursday edition of the Fan Show. It's been a great birthday week. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will enjoy my birthday tomorrow. Again, if you have suggestions what I should do, where I should go, what I should eat, whatever. I really want a Jamocha almond fudge cake, ice cream cake from Baskin-Robbins. I really, really do. And every time I think of ice cream cake, I think of the movie The House with Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler. And it's just, I thought this was ice cream cake. Oh, it's not. But we'll see. And, it's another year. I don't know what to make of it, but I do love what I do here on the Fan Show, and I thank all of you for help making it possible. So on to 31. Tomorrow, who knows what'll happen, but I am going to make the most of it, probably go out and sing a little. So if you guys follow me on Twitter, watch out for some periscopes, maybe some embarrassing ones. But hey, that's a birthday, right? As long as I don't become a meme. It's funny that I remember this is a sign of the times and how much they've changed. I remember when my biggest fear was like, being alone in life, like coming home, not even to a dog, but just coming home to a studio apartment and just, pretty much the TV characters of the shows that I binge watched were my friends. But now my biggest fear is becoming a meme and a bad one, right? Or a GIF. So that's 2017 for you. But be sure that you're following me on Twitter at FanShowOfficial. Go and like the Facebook page, facebook.com/FanShowOfficial. Shout out to Undisputed Belts. It is that time. We're in the last week or two for your respective fantasy football leagues, and your champion is going to need something that represents him and your league well. What better way than a championship belt? So go to UndisputedBelts.com or email support@UndisputedBelts. They've got belts, they've got rings, they've got pre-designed ones. They'll just, they'll print out and ship to you, or you can upload images for your own custom championship. You guys have seen the belt that I carry around to all the games for the player of the game. That is some of their hard work and some of the product that comes from Undisputed Belts. And you can check out the winner of this year's Fan Nation Fantasy Football League Season 2. He will get himself a handy-dandy championship belt. So, UndisputedBelts.com. You can follow them on Twitter, Undisputed Belts. Like them on Facebook, Undisputed Belts. And follow them on Instagram as well at what? Undisputed Belts. They're one of the best partners that I could have or ask for here on the show, as well as Flurry Sports. Those guys are always awesome. So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, I will enjoy some Niners football. Follow me on Instagram and Snapchat for all of that, and those are both the Fan Show. And of course, if you would like to be on the show or have a suggestion for anyone that you would like me to have on the show, or even a topic that you want discussed, email me, richard@thefanshow.com, and your home base for all things football and nonsense is thefanshow.com. You can catch this episode or any of our past episodes there. You can subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio. Download the WBLZ Sports app and catch replays of the show, as well as a station that plays so many great shows with things of football and nonsense. So, with that then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all once again from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to go and get ready for my birthday festivities. So until next time, it's going to be a good weekend of football. Niners, Bears, the Jimmy Garoppolo era has begun. So until next time, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and remember, of course, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his player's spot? That was Funny Sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.